if millets are so much advantageous, or if they are more like a panacea to all the problems, why are they not everywhere? So the first answer to that question is, so they are grown on marginal lands. The bottom line here is the yield gap, or the gap that you see in millets, if they are not found everywhere or if they are found on limited lands, it's not because it's not just an agronomic or a field grab. So it is actually the awareness, the technology, the policy, and the investment that is actually supposed to come up. So we can always choose the crop that saves water than the technology alone. Water is going to be one of the biggest challenges to entire humanity per se, and they also are a lower burden in terms of climate. Why? Because the area under which they are grown is very much limited. Rice and wheat will still remain essential, but we would want to add millets. So this is not going to be a replacement, but it's going to be a rebalancing thing. So now understanding how they are different, why they are important, that we will be trying to understand. Maybe I would not call this a case study, but rather more like, there are a lot many studies that have been conducted, but I would like to quote one such study here. We think the water consumption or water utilization in agriculture might not make big difference. Okay, so there was one such study conducted in the parts of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and West Bengal. So where they have experimented switching from rice and wheat to pearl millet and sorghum. So they could actually see the reduced water consumption, and you could see, the calorie production, the protein production. So it was an assessment that they did, and that tells us, okay, this is the possibility and an option before us. So we can always choose the crop that saves water than the technology alone. The water that we do not see, because water is going to be one of the biggest challenges to entire humanity per se, whether it is drinking water, whether it is water for agriculture, or it is water underground. Okay, maybe for somebody who understands, so there is a concept called as blue water, gray water, and green waters, right? So that is available through rainfall, that is available underground, and the one that is artificially given through irrigations. And they also are a lower burden in terms of climate. Why? Because so you don't have a flooded methane here. So when I say flooded methane, it's because some of the paddy fields that you see, the conventional method of growing rice has flooding. So that is believed, or the studies have shown that it contributes to the methane emissions. So lower irrigation energy, because it hardly requires any irrigation. If at all it requires, maybe very, very critical stages. Otherwise, they are comfortably grown in rain fed. And then moderate nitrogen use. I was talking about the C4 pathway. So that particular pathway actually makes millets one of the most efficient users of nitrogen. And of course, they are short duration. And because there are multiple millets or multiple crops within the group of millets, so you also have a scope for diversified or the rotations as well, so that the monocropping and the soil health problem is actually addressed here. So you're able to rotate the crop alongside managing the soil. Of course, the carbon performance varies, because when you say burden on the climate, it actually directly takes us to the carbon trades or carbon credits that the world is talking about today. I would not definitely say that millets automatically qualify for carbon credits. Maybe some more efforts are needed to understand and unveil the facts that tell us, or that convince us, or that give us an evidence as to how this could be a better choice for carbon credits. But definitely carbon performance or the climate impact is much, much lower in millets as compared to any other cereals in the food systems. When I say other cereals or other rice and wheat, when I frequently talk about those cereals, I don't mean I want to create a situation where give a picture of rice and wheat versus millets. Okay, so definitely not. So this is not going to be a replacement, but it's going to be a rebalancing thing. Rice and wheat will still remain essential, but we would want to add millets. So the studies, I think we have National Institute of Nutrition, so that tells us, or they have advocated that at least one third of our cereal intake should come from millets, which means millets also form an integral part of our diets. If you see the My Plate concept by National Institute of Nutrition, probably you'll be able to understand this concept as to why millets are needed. It's not enough if you're only eating rice and wheat. On top of that, definitely millets are going to provide us diversity, they're going to provide us nutrition, they're going to provide us resilience, and also the resource efficiency. So, the objective that I'm trying to tell here is it's not just rice and wheat versus millets, it's going to be rice and wheat with millets. Okay, so that's where the concept of balancing and replacement I would like to clarify. And we have talked of water, we have talked of climate resilience, we have talked of C4 pathways. So there is also one other angle to millets, so that is nutrition. Okay. So millets offer the nutrition that is just beyond the calories. You don't have to eat millets only for the sake of energies or calories. The food security, I think, if you look back maybe a decade or 2 decades ago, it was food security was once measured only through the availability of sufficient calories. You say in urban area, if the person eats about 2000 calories, in rural areas if the person eats about 2400 calories or whatever the number is. Okay, maybe that data keeps changing, but the fact is the food security does not actually mean only the availability of sufficient calories. That's what we realize today, because there are certain problems like hidden hunger, there are deficiencies, there is an obesity, there is a problem called anemia, and all of these are to be addressed, and then which tells us that you need to diversify and you need to add some more nutrients to whatever you're already eating. So millets are definitely rich in antioxidants. They are known to control the blood sugar levels, help lower your cholesterols. They offer nutrition, then they contribute to the antioxidant activities. If you talk of each of the crop, as I mentioned, so sorghum is rich in phenolic compounds and it's the fiber that it has. Pearl millet has iron and zinc. Then you have kodo millet, which has very good protein. Then you have ragi, which has excellent calcium. So this in combination, which helps us improve our diversity in the cereals, and some of the micronutrients that we do not get from other crops are available in millets. It could also be amino acids, okay, the vitamins, all of these. So when used in combination, so definitely they're going to add a lot of value to your the nutrition that you're going to take, and also are going to have a significant positive effect on the health, especially in tackling the lifestyle diseases that we are all talking about today. Then when I say all of this, people might ask me if millets are so much advantageous, or if they are more like a panacea to all the problems. Why are they not everywhere? So definitely. So the first answer to that question is, so they are grown on marginal lands. So you hardly see any commercial level millet cultivation in the country, except for the states of maybe Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Karnataka, and parts of Uttarakhand, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh. Why? Because these states are known to have been conventionally cultivating certain kinds of millets. Say, for example, Rajasthan has been traditionally cultivating pearl millet for ages. But all other parts of the country, you can probably not be able to see the area under pearl millet, or rather the preference of the pearl millet per se. Similarly, sorghum is widely cultivated in parts of Maharashtra and Karnataka. Ragi is cultivated in parts of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Largely, the farming community per se are dedicating the marginal, or rather the low fertile lands for millets. On the contrary, in the fertile patches, they're able to grow paddy, sugarcane, cotton, and things like that. So, there are evidences or there are studies that have proven if millets are offered a better endowed areas, so they can improve the productivity levels to 5 or 6 times of what they are in. Say today we are able to have a millet productivity of the millet crops in India. Combined productivity, if you say for all crops together, it's going to be 1.2 tons. So we have them seen to the level of 5 to 6 tons, okay, per hectare. So under rain-fed conditions is another reason, because if you understand the rain-fed areas, So they are exclusively depend on the rainfall for their growth. So there is no artificial irrigation that is provided, and maybe not much of groundwater or underground water table is being utilized for this particular reason, this particular areas. So millets are largely cultivated in those areas. Despite showing their efficiency, or despite showing an excellent tolerance and resistance, we are not able to take them. Why? Because the area under which they are grown is very much limited. So the moment you want to see the fullest potential of them, so you have to actually introduce them to the newer areas, or maybe paddy fallows or better endowed areas where you can see them in full potential. And of course, limited access to quality seed. This hasn't been a great concern now. Indian Institute of Millets Research and other organizations in the country are excessively working on this particular aspect, where we are trying to provide the quality seed, okay, to the farmers in different states. So the research institutions, agriculture universities are also contributing to this particular exercise of developing as well as providing access to the quality seeds. And of course, low mechanization. As I said, it's grown in marginal lands or low fertile lands. Not much of mechanization is being preferred, or rather it is not being employed there. But actually millets, and especially the post harvest part of it, requires some part of mechanization, some machinery and infrastructure support to process them. So that adds a lot of value once the crop is harvested. And another bigger concern is assured procurement. So we do have minimum support price for millets. So definitely, that's an important thing that we can always say. But unfortunately, despite MSP being there, we do not have an assured procurement policy in place. So very few or handful of the states, or in fact within the states also, in selected geographies, maybe millets are being procured. When I say procured, the procurement like rice and wheat, you're going to introduce them into the public distribution system. So that creates a an inherent demand, and it creates a motivation for the farmer to grow. Okay, of course, the weak processing and the market infrastructure, yes, it used to be one of the concerns earlier, but thanks to institutions like NutriHub and Indian Institute of Millets Research, so they have done a phenomenal job wherein they're trying to fix that gap of lack of processing technologies and lack of market infrastructure through a very successful and the proven models of their incubation, the research and development, and the common facility center. Because I know very well. In fact, even today, most of my friends and former colleagues are still doing that. And then that's an excellent choice. And if somebody is in Hyderabad, definitely, I think it's a must visit for you to go and then have a look at the facilities that are being developed at that place. So we now understand that rice and wheat have benefited from the decades of breeding, irrigation, the procurement, the mechanization, and the public investment. But in case of millets, you do not have all of these in place. So the technology is in place, the policy is not being made favorable. Of course, all the situation that we talk of is before 2023. Of course, in the year 2023, so there was an international year of millets that was announced by United Nations General Assembly, and the whole year the entire world ran excessive and aggressive campaigns promoting millets. I think the more than ever word actually suits very much there. I think that was the first time you could see not less than 100 countries coming forward, and the best part of it was India was leading that effort. Just like the way we are leading the world in terms of yoga, millets was something that India took the leadership in, and India is the global hub of millets. And that is why a lot of momentum was created, and it is still on. Maybe 2023 is over, but lot of improvements and lot of favorable changes have been in place in case of millets, and which is why we are talking about them today. Otherwise, I'm sure Vishwa Talks also would not have chosen something like millets as their topic, because they talk of society and they talk of sustainability and all. So definitely, yeah, that tells us the importance as to why this has become the need of the hour today. The bottom line here is the yield gap, or the gap that you see in millets, if they are not found everywhere or if they are found on limited lands, it's not because it's not just an agronomic or a field gap. So it is actually the awareness, the technology, the policy, and the investment that is actually supposed to come up. So the process has begun for all of this. So a lot of awareness is being built, newer technologies are developed, a policy is made in place, and industry is also making a lot of investment into this. Today, that is why you see all the FMCG giants talking about millets. So they have at least one product in their portfolio, the food businesses I'm talking about. So at least one product in their portfolio they have which has millets in it. They would like to brand and position millets by embracing the campaigns and the promotion efforts that the government of India is doing.